Dark Souls 2 is a game hated by many and loved by few, and the reasons vary between each player. Most of the video essays I've watched about the game discuss gameplay mechanics and level design that either make the game good or bad. I recently just beat the game for the first time, and though I've had my struggles with some of the level and gameplay choices, I've enjoyed my experience through and through. And the peak of it would be the story and the drip that came along with it. With that being said, I am going to be reacting to VaatiVidyas Prepare to Lore Cry series and the story explained and the first sin explained. I will be linking his videos in the description as well as his channel. You need to subscribe to VaatiVidya because he is the king of lore and he helps the Souls community so much by piecing together stories and theories to help us understand the world better and provide extra enjoyment along with the game. He is the GOAT. And with that being said, God bless, peace and love, and I hope to see you in this episode or in this video. All right, we are going to be reacting to Dark Souls 2 ending explained first. Let's get straight into it.
Who are the giants? What did King Vendrick steal from them? Why does Nashandra need you to open the door to the throne?
That is Nashandra.
Why does the Emerald Herald want you to ascend the throne of want? Why doesn't Vendrick sit upon the throne of want? What is the throne of want? Now, all of this is really overwhelming, I know, but by the end of this video, you should at least understand my interpretation of events, and this can serve as a really good framework to build your own theories from. So,
I just gotta say, I'm so excited to finally be watching these videos. Many times on my playthrough, I was so confused on the item descriptions that I've read. So thankfully, hopefully Vaatia can really piece together some of the questions I might have. So let's get straight into this. And we just beat the game. We were just right there. I'm assuming that's the Throne of Want right there at the end of my screen there.
I'm going to start at the end and work my way backwards. Now this might sound strange, but there is a reason for it, because most characters in Dark Souls 2 are driven by a desire, a want. For example, to understand Vendrick's hollowed state and location, you have to understand what he desired above all else, and how it led him there. To understand Nashandra's desire for the throne, we have to understand why it was so important to her, and to understand why the Emerald Herald drives you to become king, we need to know why she needs a new monarch. Do you understand? The reason we have these questions is because these character wants are hidden from us.
By the way, Nashandra was such an easy boss. Like, probably easiest boss I've ever... Probably easier than Pinwheel, to be honest.
Until the very end. That's why you got to the end of the game and you still had questions. Even the cursed undead you play as in-game is told that they will do these things without really knowing why. And you as a player are no different.
Oh, Drangleic, man. Gotta say, Drangleic Castle was my favorite part of the game. I think the most pretty part of the game. Outside of, honestly, the Shrine of Amana, absolutely breathtaking, but I gotta say, an absolute slog to get through. If you want to safely get through the Shrine of Amana, you better pack 999 arrows in your butt cheeks and a nice bow and arrow to go with that. But like, oh my gosh, I suffered through that location. Anyways, I think those are my two like most beautiful locations. I think Drangleic Castle and Shrine of Amana.
The Firekeeper says it.
But one day, you will stand before its decrepit gate without really knowing why.
Yeah, exactly, man. The grandma was spitting lore facts as soon as we opened up the game or started it. I gotta say, I love this intro cutscene. I think I wish Elden Ring had a cutscene like this. Like, the Elden Ring cutscene was cool because it was like all artsy and it was like drawings instead of actual 3D renderings. I do wish they did the 3D renderings. I mean, they had the, you know, like separate trailers for 3D rendering, so I guess that's okay, but it was nice to see. I just think this sets the atmosphere for the game so well.
The maiden says it.
If you are to be the next monarch, then one day you will walk those grounds without really knowing why.
Wow, why I didn't put that together. The old lady said it, and the Emerald Herald said it.
Grave Warden Agdane says it.
How queer you humans. How you go on, never separating truth from fiction.
Do you see?
Does anyone else say it?
As the ancient dragon says, the curse of life is the curse of want, and you peer into the fog in hope of answers. This game, more than any other Souls game, is about a search for answers. So this is great for channels like mine that interpret the lore, but it's likely really bad for the average player who has no idea what...
Miyazaki made this game for VaatiVidya. Let's just lay it all out on the line there. He made the game for VaatiVidya. He made Dark Souls 1 and saw what VaatiVidya did and was like, alright, I need to make a game for this YouTuber.
What's going on? And I'd assume this focus on answers is why so many item descriptions have questions within them, because they want to make you question the world you find yourself in. And so, we start with the Throne of Want. What is it? Well, first off, the throne room itself is a kiln. And to
Oh, no way! The throne room itself. So we linked the fire in this game, right? Well, I mean, it just showed me sitting down on the throne and then the doors closed. I don't know if a fire went, you know, came over the land or not, and I survived it. Maybe that's what the Throne of Want is, just the want of survival. Maybe that's like the only place in the world where the fire doesn't reach. I don't know. That's a crappy theory. That's not even a theory, that's just, I don't know why I said it, to be honest.
Being a kiln is significant. You have to understand the principles of this world, and it just so happens that they're the same principles we found in Lordran in Dark Souls 1. In the Dark Souls 1 opening cinematic, we see the shambling forms of hollows. They're called that, presumably because they're empty vessels, hollow. Then the first flame appeared, containing powerful souls. One hollow found the Dark Soul and used it to give birth to humanity. Another 3 found their powerful souls within the first flame, and one of these lords became Gwyn, Lord of Sunlight. His soul was power, and he ushered in an age of light and fire. In time, though, this age began to dwindle. The brighter the flame, the shorter its life, and so the world began to darken. Everything fell apart around Gwyn, Lord of Sunlight. His city became abandoned, his trusted friends betrayed him. Demons were spawned when one of his fellow lords tried to relight the first flame, and humanity began to be afflicted by the curse of the undead. Undead are kept sane through their strength of purpose, and one undead took on an impossible purpose. He journeyed through the crumbling world and consumed thousands of powerful souls in the process, eventually gathering the strength to overthrow the fading lord.
That was me, and that was you if you've beaten Dark Souls 1. That was us. We did that. We did that together. Oh!
Lord Gwyn. In the kiln of the first flame, where Lord Gwyn once linked the flame to his own soul, an undead with a powerful soul did the same. He links the flame to his soul like Gwyn did, and the flame consumes him, starting a new age of fire. Before Dark Souls 2, we didn't know what effect this would have. We assumed linking the fire would bring light back to the world, and we were right. We also knew that linking the fire is a
Linking the fire is only it's gonna start the cycle over again, though.
temporary solution, as everything fades in time. But
yeah, that's like my only issue with Dark Souls. There's no escape from the loop. When can we escape the loop? That is, kingdoms rise and then they fall. Kingdoms rise and then they fall. That's like the only thing about Dark Souls to me that is unsatisfying. It's like, okay, the story is this. Kingdoms rose to power and then over time they fell down to power. Like, it's really that, like, simple, right? The interesting parts of that is what do the people do in spite of the cycle, right?
But what we didn't know is that this process is destined to play out over and over again. It's a cycle. The dull ember, an item we come across in our journey, gives us a clue about the cycle of light and dark.
Ooh, I forgot about
ember
this.
Radiating a dull light. This flame seems nearly exhausted, but it exhibits an eerie resilience. Perhaps this is its ordinary state.
Bro, what if that's us, the first player? Maybe the dull ember is us from Dark Souls 1 after we link the fire. Maybe someone finds our embers and put it in there. Could be, could be. Also, Strayed talks about this after you free him from the petrification.
I think this quote reflects the concept of light and dark in the game. I think it means that the center point of light and dark is around a struggling, spluttering flame. Gwyn,
The Throne of Want and a kiln.
linked the fire with his soul. This prolonged his age of light. Eventually it faded to its natural state, where there were only cinders. At this point, an undead comes along with another immense soul. He can either choose to link the flame and bolster the age of fire, or let it splutter and die and lead an age of dark. In Dark Souls 1, this is your choice. Whether you choose light or dark,
I don't remember
it's
that
possible
ending.
It doesn't even matter, because if you choose light, your age of light will eventually fade to cinders, and if you choose dark, you might smother the flame, but an ember will always remain in the ashes, waiting to be blown back into life. In Dark Souls 2,
Yeah, maybe that because the world is intertwined, right? Everyone's like basically, you know, in the same world. That's where the messages come from. That's why you can summon other heroes from the past or the future to help you on your journey. Maybe that's why, like, if you don't link the fire, it's also canon if you don't link the fire and if you do link the fire, because another player linked the fire on their playthrough. Thus, the cycle continues. And if you didn't link the fire, too bad. Like, someone else already linked the fire. You know what I mean? So the cycle continues regardless if you link the fire or not, because the nature of the worlds are convoluted. At least in Dark Souls 1, how Solaire explains.
2, there's an item called Sublime Bone Dust. Its description says that it is the remains of a saint who cast himself into the bonfire. But we will never know for sure, for soot and ashes tell no story. This isn't just any old dust, it allows you to bolster the power of your Estus Flask, which heals the undead.
Well, it's gotta be us.
found numerous times throughout the game, in numerous locations, so it's implied that these are the remains of the chosen undead.
Oh my gosh, man. Dark Souls 1 was so good. Dark Souls 1 is so good, man.
Before you, the chosen undead who linked the fire before burning to dust themselves.
Many kingdoms rose and fell on this tract of earth. Mine was by no means the first.
Yeah, I remember talking to Straight about this. I think how many kingdoms rose and fell between Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2?
Anything that has a beginning also has an end. No flame, however brilliant, does not one day splutter and fade. But then, from the ashes, the flame reignites, and a new kingdom is born, sporting a new face.
This tells us that the cycle has repeated itself numerous times. Many have sacrificed themselves to renew the cycle of light, and their ashes are found throughout the land. One after the other, without fail, a chosen undead resigns himself to the kiln to link his soul with the first flame. So it's my theory that the undead curse crops up once the flame begins to fade, so that eventually a fated undead will appear with the willpower to gather souls and link the flame once again. When you link the fire, you're also removing the undead curse from the world for a short time. But only for a short time, for when the world darkens, the curse appears again.
The curse is a part of life itself.
Yo,
No.
wait, hold on, pause. Who made this character? I'd go on a date with this character. No lie. We could both wear the elite armor set and go on a date through Lord Rand.
Bruh.
Oh, psych. We're going on a date through Dringlade. Holy crap. Dang.
Will ever be rid of it. And so there is only
Oh, gosh. Am I that down bad? No, I'm not down bad. Ugh.
one
I'm not down
choice.
bad that bad.
To await a worthy monarch. A monarch who can shoulder your burden, lest this land swallow you whole, as it has so many others.
You are the bearer of the curse, but this means more than you'd think. You don't just bear the curse of the undead where you die over and over, but by linking the fire, you also bear the burden of this cursed world. You are the worthy monarch who sacrifices himself so that humans can die instead of going hollow. Why do humans go hollow? Well, do you remember the hollows from the Dark Souls 1 opening cinematic? That seems to be their natural state. Some of these hollows found humanity in the first flame and became human. Reverting to your hollow state doesn't seem that unnatural when you consider that, does it? So as I said earlier, remember the throne room you enter at the end of the game? Look at the design, it's a kiln. Just like the kiln in the first game, it exists to house the first flame. A kiln used to change the form of something with heat. The throne and the room itself is covered in ash, and as you enter, the Emerald Herald tells you that you can link the fire, should you choose to do so. The giant's kinship reads, "Each king has his rightful throne, and when he sits upon it, he sees what he chooses to see. Or perhaps it is the throne which shows the king only what he wants." So this is the effects of the ending. For now, simply know that it represents another cycle taking place. You are sitting upon a throne, and the throne is but a symbol of power and choice. The power and choice that lighting the first flame gives to you, as you can decide how to reshape your world. The Emerald Herald says that once the fire is linked, the souls you've inherited will flourish anew, and inherit new bodies, and all of the events that just occurred will play out again. The Age of Fire will be bolstered, and the undead curse may disappear, but in time the fire will fade, and eventually a new undead will come along, bound by fate.
Bro.
She then says it's your choice to embrace or renounce this. And like in Dark Souls 1, you have that choice to embrace light, or to reject it and let darkness come. The only difference between Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 1 that I can see is that in Dark Souls 2, we aren't able to make the in-game choice of linking the flame or walking away from it. And when you think about it, why would we need to make that choice in-game? Because now we know, regardless of what we choose, you, as a player, know the cycle will start over again.
Yes, there is no choice.
Great Sovereign, take your throne. What lies ahead, only you can see.
That doesn't make... Okay.
Now that you know what the Throne of Want represents, you can really understand the stories of those who would sit upon it. So click here to view part 2, which is about Vendrick, Nashandra, the Herald, and the world your player character goes through as you play the game.
I'm gonna.
I really hope that you enjoyed this video, but
you don't have
in my
to tell
opinion,
me twice,
the best
Vaati.
stories are in part 2.
Oh,
See
I'm gonna. Oh, I'm gonna watch that video. Right now, actually. Oh man, W video, gotta leave that there like. Thank you, Vaati. That's kind of like went over kind of what I already knew, just in more detail. Dark Souls is it's a cycle. All right, now this is what we're gonna react to next. Is the story explained? I'm gonna try to keep my commentary to a minimum, so the video is not too long. But just know that I will stop whenever I want to make commentary, and that might be few.
This video will make more sense if you've watched part 1 of this series, where I explain the ending. Because now that we know what it means to sit upon the throne, we can explore the stories of those who would sit upon it.
I see.
And it turns out, the original king of Drangleic, Vendrick, was supposed to link the flame and sit the throne, but he never did. And when you acquire his soul, it is a soul of he who would link the flame.
Oh, he never did. Okay, so that I was so confused why I was able to pick up his soul in there, in this room. So he never did link the fire. Interesting.
Chandra also makes reference to this when you visit her in the throne room.
The last king of this land, King Vendrick, as he was called. He was less of a king than you might imagine. He found the strength to rule his people, and when the undead were born, cursed, he found more strength to face them. But in the end, he never took the true throne. A true
Whoa, I forgot that conversation.
monarch is much more than a ruler of men. A true monarch carries the weight of their souls.
If a true monarch must carry a huge weight of souls and incinerate himself in the kiln to link the fire, then perhaps Vendrick wanted none of it. So now we go back before there was a king, a queen.
isn't that why Nashandra, when we fight her, she says she manipulated us to go link the fire so she could kill us to sit on the throne of want. The question is though, why didn't she just do it herself? Why didn't she go kill the 4 great souls herself? Why'd she have us do it? Maybe she wasn't strong enough. But if we were, I mean, if she thinks she's strong enough to kill us and we killed the 4 great souls, then why does she think she can beat us? I don't know. I don't know. Am I off? Am I off there?
And back before Vendrick's kingdom of Drangleic was even founded. Many kingdoms have risen and fallen on the spot that is now called Drangleic. The kingdoms take different shapes, but the framework is always the same. There's always a king, there is always the undead curse, and there are always 4 powerful souls.
Hey, I did not put that together. Dark Souls 1, the 4 powerful souls. And then Dark Souls 2, the 4 powerful souls. I did not make that connection, but also that reminded me of BioShock Infinite, because in BioShock Infinite, there's always a leader. There's always someone running Rapture. There's always the man that you have to kill. Dude, BioShock was such a great game.
Back in Dark Souls 1, there were 4 Great Ones. It's likely these were the first 4 Great Ones, as they found their souls within the first flame.
Also, out of that picture we just saw here, out of this picture, right here, the best boss fight out of the 4 Great Souls, hands down, easily, is going to the Lost Sinner. The Lost Sinner out of the 4 Great Souls was easily the best boss fight, the most enjoyable. I'd say the second on this list is gonna go to the Duke's Dear Freya, because as much as this area freaked me out, spiders and stuff like that, I'd say it was a pretty enjoyable fight. And the third favorite has to go to the Old Iron King, and then the 4th is the Rotten, because guess what? You gotta get past the gutter, and then you have to get past the freaking gulch. The Black Gulch. That's how I would list it. Let me know down in the comments how you would list the 4 great ones as your favorite. Let me know what your first, second, third, and 4th is down below.
Great Ones, as they found their souls within the first flame.
Many kingdoms have risen and fallen on this very spot, each like a great flame that turns to soot.
King Vendrick founded Drangleic.
He vanquished the 4 Great Ones and built this kingdom upon their souls.
Vendrick crushed the kingdom and the 4 Great Ones who existed before him. He then instigated a powerful kingdom.
Wait, who were the 4 Great Ones that King Vendrick killed before? So he must have slain a completely different 4 Great Ones than we did. Wait, no, was that what the DLC was about? Because we entered his memories. We entered King Vendrick's memories. So when we killed Sura alone, when we killed Sin, the slumbering dragon, and then I forgot the other king there was. Was that the 4 Great Ones that Vendrick slain? I have no clue.
Kingdom named Drangleic.
Okay, I gotta say, I'm so sorry for pausing. We're only 2 minutes and this is a 21-minute long video. Oh my gosh.
Which came about due to those who fought for him. The ring bearing the soldier's seal was granted to warriors who distinguished themselves in the service of King Vendrick. He also commanded the Dragon Riders, elite knights straddling dragons, who helped him crush the kingdom's former inhabitants. Drangleic was built upon the graves of those they defeated, and his kingdom prospered. But Vendrick wasn't just interested in gaining the throne, he also sought to maintain it.
Who sat on that throne? Was that King Vendrick and Nashandra sitting on that throne? I feel like they could have done something with that room. That room always perplexed me because I felt like something should have went on in that room, and then there was always blood stains in there. So how are those people dying? Did not make sense to me.
Then there was a queen.
The king had a dear queen, a woman of unparalleled beauty. Long ago, the queen came to us, alone, from afar.
There ain't no goth baddies that want you, that come out of nowhere, okay? There's always a caveat, all right? Stay away from the goth baddie. There's There's always a caveat there, okay? You don't just get blessed with that for free. It comes with a price. And that price may be your sanity. It even may be your life. Stay away. It's not worth it.
Faraway land.
She warned our lord of the looming threat across the seas, of the giants. The king crossed the ocean and defeated the giants with the queen at his side.
It's always the
king
giants getting wrecked, bro.
their power and created the golems.
With the golems, the king created this castle to celebrate victory.
Bro, I gotta say, King Vendrick's drip is probably the best in all of Dark Souls 2. I gotta say. There's so many great armor sets in Dark Souls 2, but King Vendrick's, I think, takes the cake for me personally.
And to show his love, his gratitude to his queen.
The queen brought peace to this land and to her king.
A peace so deep, it was like
the dark.
Oh, the deep, the dark. The peace of the deep and the dark. She's from the abyss, isn't she?
Is this some sort of a dream?
Where am I? What has happened to our castle?
Long ago, the king crossed the seas, pillaged the land of giants, and brought back a prize.
What was the prize he brought back?
It was then that the golems materialized.
Whatever Vendrick stole, it appears to have come with the ability to create automatons in the form of golems. Golems are inanimate beings that carry out a set purpose like opening a door or building a bridge. This purpose is powered by souls, so it seems as if the thing Vendrick stole from the giants allowed him to infuse things with souls. Key to many advancements was the king's elder brother Aldia. Aldia helped found Drangleic, and he was known for his experiments. The mysterious Lord Aldia secluded himself inside a manor to conduct various experiments.
Aldia.
Those who visited the manor disappeared, replaced over
Isn't that the name of the final boss? Aldia, Scholar of the First Sin?
time with malformed beasts that roamed its halls.
I just fought the boss. How could I forget the name? I don't know how my brain works sometimes.
His discarded experiments are seen throughout the entire land of Drangleic, and I believe that when the kingdom encountered trouble, Vendrick turned to his brother for an experiment that might just solve his problem. After conquering the giants, Drangleic knew peace for a time. This peace was destined to be short-lived, for the undead curse had begun to appear in Drangleic. Vendrick was trying to find ways to fight the curse. Many of his actions and the structures and creations within the land seem bent towards this end. Like the rulers of Lordran before him, Vendrick was frightened by the curse, and unlike the lords in Lordran, Vendrick was human and susceptible to the curse, just like his subjects were. The origins of the curse is becoming known to us. The common trend between the two games is that the curse appears when the flame is fading. But Vendrick doesn't know this. Like the lords in Lordran before him, Vendrick assumed that the curse was almost like an infection, and he condemns the undead, imprisoning and exiling. The Huntsman's Copse is evidence of this mindset. Undead hunts took place here before Vendrick's time, and these were led by the Old Iron King. Undead were corralled and locked away, but this solved nothing. Also, the Skeleton Lords were once charged with the capture of all undead, but even they were overcome by the curse.
The Old Iron King commanded the capture of all undead, but those charged with the task were overcome by the curse. Oh, okay.
And lastly, the Executioner's Chariot was created only to...
Worst fight in the game for me. I hate this guy. I feel like I'm the only one on planet Earth who struggled with the Executioner's Chariot. And that run back, oh my gosh. That run back about sent me over the edge, literally.
To torment undead, running endlessly in a loop and running the undead down over and over. And regardless of all this not working, when King Vendrick became ruler of Drangleic, he took similar measures to the rulers before him. Long ago, the dungeons overflowed with the accursed, and the king commanded a contorted sentry to deliver those with no cells to a faraway land. to make certain that they were never heard from again. We all fought the Flexile sentry who waits in a boat outside No Man's Wharf. When the bell is rung, it signals that a new shipment has arrived, and the Flexile sentry...
No Man's Wharf sucked, but it was a very beautiful place, in my opinion. Reminded me of Pirates of the Caribbean, a movie that I love.
...comes in to take them away. The king also hired shadow men to put down the hollows, but before long, they were hollowed themselves. And we see the Pursuer, which is a being without much backstory, other than his purpose to hunt down bearers of the curse and cut them down. During all this, Vendrick's time was running out. A powerful soul is like a curse, and Vendrick, king of Drangleic, used a powerful soul to keep the curse at bay. Soldan tells us that the curse is traceable to the soul. If the soul is the essence of life itself, then the real curse must be to walk this very earth. Vendrick is commonly touted as one who peered straight into the essence of the soul, presumably in an attempt to understand this curse. Vendrick and...
Maybe he didn't like what he saw. He didn't like what he saw, and that messed him up big time.
His brother, Aldia, began trying to discover the secrets of life itself. The malformed claws tell us this, saying that Aldia viewed the undead as key to this mystery. At some point, I think it's likely that they stumbled upon something that we know, but they didn't. That the curse of the undead seems to be tied to the fading flame. That previous kingdoms saw the undead curse appear when the first flame faded, or that a cycle was taking place where kingdoms were rising into an age of fire and falling into an age of dark.
The question is, though, how do we know that? I mean, we know that because, like, I'm talking outside of the game. We know that, like, when the flame comes to an end, the undead come back. But how does anyone know in this world, in Dark Souls 2, that that's the case? Does knowledge carry over from the previous kingdom, the previous fire? Like, does the information of cycle 1 go into cycle 2, right? How does that work?
That there was almost some sort of fate involved. From item descriptions and from Aldia's creations, we can see that Vendrick and Aldia were trying to find a way to cheat fate.
I did not know this was a boss. I did not know this was a boss. Okay.
It looks like they were trying to find a way to preserve their kingdom, so that fate would not recycle their kingdom just like all the others.
New Game Plus run, baby.
But how do you cheat fate? The seed of a tree of giants tells us that death is not the end, for anything that has ever once lived remains a part of a great cycle of regeneration. But what of those outside the cycle? The only things outside the cycle of death and rebirth are those that never lived at all, the ancient dragons. Aldia kept giants in his manor and attempted to recreate a dragon, but after some time, he was not heard from again. We find the ancient dragon at the peak of the Dragon Eyrie. It's a really peculiar being, as it drops a giant soul upon death, along with dragon bones. It's almost as if Aldia used a giant soul to construct such a being. We know that after Vendrick invaded the giants, he came back with the ability to construct golems. He could also infuse souls into inanimate objects. What if Aldia tried to reanimate an ancient dragon in the same manner? The powerful soul would give life to the inanimate bones, just like regular souls give life to the golems.
That's an interesting concept there.
You find a great creature far to the east. A colossal thing with the strength to match its size. Or something playing the part at least.
Playing the part at least.
Undead. What did that dragon tell you? That thing is a prop. A false deity. Don't be fooled, my undead.
It's possible, considering all this, that Aldia thought that by reviving the ancient dragon, he could revive a being that was outside the shackles of fate. The ancient dragons of Dark Souls 1 were outside the cycle of fire and dark, living in a lifeless age of grey. He went further than this though, when you consider the dialogue of Shanalot, the Emerald Herald.
My name is Shanalot. The dragon gave me this name, for I was born with none. I was born of dragons. Contrived by men.
Contrived by men.
Born of dragons, contrived by men. It looks as if Aldia attempted to birth another Firekeeper, a melding of human and dragon in the form of Shanalot, the Emerald Herald, one who could break the shackles of fate itself and maintain the fires indefinitely.
They say that she is the last Firekeeper, but they say a lot of things.
Whoa, who is that?
I failed. I did not come out as intended. Fate would not be bested, and men were cursed once again.
At some point during all this, the giants must have rallied and invaded Drangleic with a vengeance. This battle spans multiple generations, bringing Drangleic to ruin.
My father and his father both fought the giants on this very land. Soon, the giants will descend upon this fort. It is revenge for the kingdom's misguided barbarism. My blade may break, my arrows fall wide, but my will shall never be broken.
In the midst of
That's
this
a hard
invasion,
line. That's
I think
hard.
that King Vendrick had a chilling realization. Vendrick's attempt to create the Emerald Herald tells us that he understands a cycle is taking place, a cycle where kingdoms are born into an age of light and eventually descend into darkness. When the darkness comes, undead appear. So when he considers this, everything must have become clear. When someone like Vendrick considered where the darkness must have come from in his kingdom, he would have realized that it came to him long ago. This queen made him invade the giants. This queen got his kingdom into the state it was in, and this queen came before a darkening kingdom. When he considers this, everything makes sense. His wife, the queen, is a pretender and a manipulator. Slowly, she has grown closer to the throne of want, and closer to the first flame.
We have no need for two rulers.
Nashandra's want is the first flame, as it's called by the Emerald Herald, the Great Soul. And as we mentioned before, this is either within the structure at the end of the game, or embodied by it. And so now we come to understand the want of Nashandra. She wants access to the first flame, and the Great Soul, which is an access only a king of Drangleic can give.
If you proceed, Nashandra will come after you, knowing that you will take the throne and link the fire. She covets the first flame and the Great Soul. Put Nashandra to rest.
Alright. Hey, I did that. First try.
But Vendrick's want was to deny fate. We see this in his actions, in the creation of the ancient dragon, and in the birth of his Emerald Herald. We saw it as he hunted the undead, and we see it within the experiments of Aldia's Keep. And finally, we see it in his soul, the soul of he who would link the fire. King Vendrick refused to open the door to the throne, and he refused to link the first flame with his own soul. This is the first flame that Nashandra wants so badly.
The flame. The flame. Souls. More souls.
Nashandra is characterized by her lust for power. Every fragment of her being is bent towards this end. Her origins are shrouded in mystery to the main characters of Drangleic, but we learn of her origins once we obtain her soul. I don't know if you've read it, but her soul states, Nashandra was born of the dark with an insatiable lust for strength. The bow of want, formed from her soul, tells us that when the Old One of the Abyss was destroyed, his soul split into minuscule fragments, and these were spread across the land. The Old One is Manus from Dark.
Menace! Talk about a menace! Manus kicked my cheeks in. Talk about a difficult fight. Oh my goodness. A great fight, but a difficult one. Oh my gosh.
Dark Souls 1. This is confirmed by the official guide. Manus was responsible for the spread of the Abyss in Dark Souls 1, an ancient being characterized by his lust for his lost pendant. So similarly, Nashandra is driven by her lust for power. The Bow of Want description tells us of how the smallest of these pieces of Manus, sensing its own fragility, yearned for what it lacked. Precisely due to its size, the smallest piece of Manus was the first to restore its form. A form that looks remarkably like Princess Dusk, who Manus stole from Ulasil, but that's a topic for another day. We can't be sure how Vendrick realizes this, but when he recognizes Nashandra's true nature, he must give up on cheating fate. He accepts that the curse will take over his flesh and his mind, but his final act is to deny his queen.
Was that picture like foreshadowing who that was? That's just got to be just foreshadowing or foreshadowing, like thrown in our faces, right?
King Vendrick prepares all the pieces of the puzzle and makes his move. Whatever the cost to him, his queen will not ascend the throne. And so, let's work backwards from the throne, and let's finally see how Vendrick set up the barriers to Nashandra's rule.
Oh my gosh, okay, okay. This is getting me hyped. I love that.
Grants access to the throne beneath the castle. Why we need to be of giant blood to ascend the throne is a topic we'll hopefully understand soon, but note that the throne has a human-sized seat carved into a much larger throne. We find the giant's kinship within the memory of Jay, a giant who fell in the final battle with Drangleic, where the Giant Lord was present. The Giant Lord was eventually defeated by an unnamed hero, and we take their place inside the memory in order to obtain the giant's kinship. The memories of the giants can only be accessed once you have obtained the Ashen Mist Heart, which requires the blessing of the ancient dragon hidden deep within the dragon shrine. Such a thing cannot be taken by force. Mist is associated with time travel and space, and it's also associated with the ancient dragons. So it makes a degree of sense then that the false ancient dragon should have the ability to give you something like this. Something to access the memory of giants, something to get the giant's kinship, and something to let you access the throne. The doors to all of these things only open when one wears the king's ring. The king resided in Drangleic Castle with his queen, but eventually retreated deeper within it with his ring. I imagine Vendrick traveling with his trusted protector Velstart deeper into Drangleic Castle. He assigns the Looking Glass Knight.
Looking Glass Knight, I wish we have more unique boss fights like this. What a cool boss design and what a cool fight.
To overlook the entrance to Amarna. Fearing something wicked, the king fled the castle and never returned, but his warrior, forever true to his command, stands ready to expunge those who would challenge him. So the king traveled to his Shrine of Amarna, which exists below Drangleic Castle. Its purpose, I believe, is to repel Nashandra. Within it are the Milfinito.
It makes sense. Honestly, Nashandra, I get why she didn't want to do it herself. Holy crap. She was afraid of the Shrine of Amarna. Oh my goodness.
Who sing to bring comfort to those bound by death and dark.
When we sing, the little ones dance. The little ones grant comfort to those who bear death and dark.
The little ones are the fireflies. While the Milfinitos sing, the fireflies gather around those bound by death and dark, rendering them passive, docile, and inert.
Oh,
if we stop them singing, then the creatures of death and dark become aggressive and revert to their natural selves.
Oh, I never noticed that.
Nashandra's very being is death and dark, and she would be bound by this calming force if she attempted to travel through here.
Oh! She couldn't do it if she wanted to. Smart play, Vendrick. Smart play, Vendrick.
Yeah. Within Drangleic Castle, we also see a captured Milfinito, which presumably was taken by the queen as she attempted to penetrate the shrine after Vendrick went through it.
It all makes sense now.
So at one point, when Vendrick is traveling through the shrine, he splits himself apart from his soul and places it behind a door only openable by a human. Maybe one day the chosen undead will pass through here, unable to be broken down by the undead curse. Hence, they will be human and able to open this door and obtain.
That's all it took to open the door, is to have your humanity
in the king's soul, and maybe then they'll understand. From here, after splitting his soul, I imagine that Vendrick is carried by his trusted hand Velstart, who carries his husk of a body to rest in the undead crypt. Velstart, known as the Royal Aegis, gave himself to the king, both in life and death. Vendrick's armor is placed in a neat pile, with the king's ring ready to be taken by a worthy undead. Perhaps his gear is put aside by Velstart in the hopes that the chosen undead will take the ring and what he needs, but not harm the king he has been charged with protecting. The king is a soulless husk, and there is nothing to be gained from killing him. One day, this undead...
Wait, I could have beat the game without killing him? Why'd I kill him?
May link the fire. Vendrick knows that he will one day be overthrown by an undead worthy to link the flame, for it is written in fate, but he makes sure that Nashandra will not be the one to open it, as the barriers to her presence are great.
Wow.
The King's Ultra Greatsword depicts the Queen. Only the King knows whether the depiction of the Queen is an affectionate exaltation or a resentful mockery. I believe it's the latter, a mockery of the Queen as Vendrick succeeded in delaying her access to the throne.
Wow.
And resentful because he must abandon his kingdom to keep it safe. Nashandra waits. During all this, she guides the undead, knowing she can't hope to ascend the throne without you. If you go back to her at different points in the game, she'll tell you about the dragon in the shrine and the king in the crypt. She encourages you to descend upon the throne of want, and waits until you take out the throne watcher and the throne defender before finally presenting herself.
Wait, I killed those guys so long ago before I actually ended up going back there. That's crazy to think about how she set that all up. She is like the master manipulator, bro. She's an Eisen. Holy crap.
Undead, you have proven yourself to me. Now, be one with the dark.
Nashandra, born of Manus, has one final chance to take out the chosen undead and ascend the throne. But the undead is strong enough to overthrow the Sinner, the Rotten, the Old Iron King, and the Duke's dear Freya. Strong enough to conquer the giant memories and uncover Vendrick in his crypt. So just like in Dark Souls 1, we're strong enough at the end because of the barriers in our way.
Yeah.
Many of which were put there by King Vendrick. And because of Vendrick, we easily conquer Nashandra as she tries to stop you from ascending.
Bro, the freaking like forward thought that Vendrick had in this is kind of insane if you think about it, bro. He like foresaw, well, he didn't foresee, and once he figured it out, the dude was plotting against Nashandra. Did they have any kids together though?
The throne.
That's the question. Did they have any kids together?
Hope you enjoyed these two videos, guys. These two took a long time to research and make, and even then, I'm nowhere near answering all the questions in this game. There's so much left to uncover, so many things that I left out of this video, just for simplicity's sake. I have a bunch of these questions listed in the description, and I'll probably make a video talking about them at some point.
Dude,
but if you wanted to try and answer some of them with your own theories in the comments down below that like button, then I think that would make for some great discussion. Anyway, click on the bonfire if you enjoy my content and if you'd want to kindle the channel, and maybe I'll see you over on Patreon with the small community I have over there. But regardless of that, I'll see you in the next video.
Dude, honestly guys, please subscribe to VaatiVidya. Like, I'm so happy that this channel exists and these games exist. Like, oh man, he makes it so easy to understand, even though if what he's saying is like not 100% true or like not 100% accurate, like the theories that he crafts and the research that he does is so valuable. It's so valuable to the gaming space. So you guys, please subscribe to VaatiVidya, please, if you haven't already. It's so worth it. All right, so that was the second video. Now we need to watch this one, the First Sin Explained. I really want to watch this one.
As flame rises, so does it fade. Such is the way of things.
Light and dark, neither can fade while the other survives. This is the law of the Dark Souls universe, and all the characters within are bound by its principles. But it was not always this way. Once, long ago, the world was grey, without heat, cold, life, death, light, or dark. But then the first flame appeared.
How
after the advent?
Here's my question. Like, it appeared, but how did it appear? Why did it appear? That's like, I don't know. Like, how do you create a world? You just speak it into being. Like, how or why did it happen? That's like the thing that is like always the most mysterious to me in the first place.
of fire. The ancient lords found the 3 souls, but your progenitor found a 4th, unique soul, the Dark Soul. Your ancestor claimed the Dark Soul and waited for fire to subside, and soon the flames did fade, and only dark remained. Thus began the Age of Men, the Age of Dark.
This was the natural progression that was supposed to take place in the world. It was supposed to be the Age of Ancients, and then the Age of Fire, then the Dark Age of Man.
However, Lord Gwyn trembled at the dark, clinging to his Age of Fire and in dire fear of humans and the Dark Lord who would one day be born amongst them. Lord Gwyn resisted the course of nature by sacrificing himself to link the fire and commanding his children to shepherd the humans. Gwyn has blurred your past to prevent the birth of the Dark Lord.
What Gwyn did could be called the first sin, for he resisted the course of nature. He forced the darkness back, and from this moment forth the light and the dark have been in a constant ebb and flow, like the rising and the falling of the tide. In the ending of Dark Souls 1, we are a part of this flow. The world is in the grip of darkness, filled with broken, tired characters. We tear through the remains of their fragile world and are guided to the kiln of the first flame. Here we have a choice. We can do the same thing Gwyn did and bolster the power of the flame with our own soul, or we can turn our back on the dying light and let darkness grip the world.
And then the Age of Man, right?
2, we thought that these endings were polar opposites, but we were wrong. The choice itself is irrelevant, and whether you linked the flame or whether you turned your back on it, your choice would have led to the events of Dark Souls 2. It would have led to the kingdom of Drangleic, where our character exists. Drangleic was once a proud kingdom of light, but it has fallen into darkness and decay like the countless kingdoms before it.
No flame.
Alright, side note. Dark Souls, right? The trilogy, right? You're always, in these settings, you're always going through the game as when the kingdoms are at their darkest, right? They've fallen already, and then whatever we fight are lingering remains. When are we gonna have a Dark Souls game where we are in the present, in which history is being made? Like why can't we be in Anne Orlando when it's at its peak? Well, is there no problems? Is there no problems during the height of their power, thus no need to make a game? Like, I want to be Anne Orlando when freaking Gwyn is alive. Gwendolyn is alive, for many reasons. Or like, why? Why do we always have to go through a fallen kingdom? I want to play a game where the kingdom is thriving. I think that's a great idea. I don't know how they would make it work, but why is it always got to be a fallen kingdom?
However brilliant, does not one day splutter and fade. But then, from the ashes, the flame reignites, and a new kingdom is born, sporting a new face. It is all a curse. And it is your cursed flesh that will inherit the flame.
In the ending of Dark Souls 2, we once again arrive at the kiln to either link the fire or let the world fade into darkness.
Once the fire is linked, souls will flourish anew, and all of this will play out again. It is your choice to embrace or renounce this.
The Emerald Herald pushes us to link the fire, for she wishes to be free of the curse. It reminds me of Anastasia from Dark Souls 1, a firekeeper who also wished for us to link the fire.
Framt has told me of you, that you have agreed to link the fire. I thank you sincerely. Finally, the curse of the undead will be lifted, and I can die human.
To link the fire is
Wait,
to
she
become
was a
free of
human?
the curse of the undead. And if linking the fire frees us of the curse, then it does follow that the initial linking of the fire, the thing that started all of this, is related to the curse. Aldia says as much, after all.
Once the Lord of Light banished dark and all that stemmed from humanity. And men assumed a fleeting form. These are the roots of our world.
What Aldia is saying is that when Gwyn linked the fire and banished dark, man became much less. He says that man assumed a fleeting form. Fleeting means temporary, so I take this to mean that Gwyn reduced mankind's existence in some way. But what exactly? Did he make them mortal? Did he place the undead curse upon them, causing them to return to their hollow state?
I think so.
And as far as I
think
know,
the latter on that
in
one.
The game that explicitly explains what Gwyn's linking of the flame did to man. My current theory is that Gwyn actually linked the fire to humanity, which would explain a lot. By doing this, he could feed the flame with humanity's souls, plus it would explain why we respawn at the bonfire, why we kindle the bonfire, and why we're drawn to it even though our nature is inherently dark. Agdane says.
In the past, humans were one with the dark.
And we are one with it no longer.
Men are props in state of life, and no matter how tender, how explicit, a lie will remain a lie.
Men became something to be used.
Whoa.
You can hear the fury in his voice when he says this, because Aldia realizes that men were supposed to inherit the world, but they can't, because the world seems stuck in a cycle of light and dark.
Oh, so the
Men
first
had
sin.
everything taken from them, but this defines them. They are fateless, but they still want for more. And so they loved, they lost, and they achieved, all within the bounds of their desire.
Wow.
Peace grants men the illusion of life.
While the flame is at its height, and the world is peaceful, mankind seems able to die. We know this because the curse of undeath is always listed as something that appears, rather than something that has always existed. Usually, this happens sometime after the fire has been linked, perhaps as soon as it begins to fade. For example, Gwyn was undone long after he linked the fire, and similarly, Vendrick started to fear the curse after his reign had begun. He began to fear men who would not die, men who were cursed to return to their hollow state.
Shackled by falsehoods, they yearn for love, unaware of its grand illusion. Until the curse touches their flesh. We are bound by this yoke, as true as the dark that turns within men.
This is the fate that the Emerald Herald, Vendrick, and Anastasia want to avoid by linking the fire. They want to be free from the curse of the undead, so that they can become human and die. Better to die than to become a soulless husk like you see in the trailer.
How does he...
So in the original ending of Dark Souls 2, you could choose to link the fire, or you could choose to let it fade. Both are irrelevant, because the world of Dark Souls 2 is defined by the countless civilizations that have risen and fallen. This one ending, where you ascend the throne, and the Emerald Herald tells you you can link the fire, or walk away from it, is the same as the two endings of Dark Souls 1. Because whether you link the fire, or extend the Age of Dark, you become part of the cycle. So Dark Souls 2 gives you no in-game choice to be made, because in this game, you are supposed to have learned that there is no significant choice to be made. If you link the fire,
That's
the
sad.
cycle renews. And
That's
if you choose
so
not to,
sad. That's like so sad to think about, right? What's the point of existing?
Eventually an undead will rise who can unseat you and link the fire. That's who your character in Dark Souls 2
So sad in the terms of the game.
is, after all. Vendrick was the Lord of Light before you, but after spending countless years researching the curse, he realized that it was all futile. His soul's description says that he is the one who should have linked the fire, but he became overwhelmed by despair and seems to have accepted the darkness instead.
One day fire will fade, and dark will become a curse. Men will be free from death, left to wander eternally. Dark will again be ours, and in our true shape, we can bury the false legends of yore.
Vendrick is inclined to believe that there are two choices, to link the fire or let it fade. He believes that by accepting the darkness, the world will eventually pass into an age of man built around their dark souls.
Only, is this our only choice?
And while it is true that we have never seen exactly what happens once the flame fades entirely, Aldia is a character who believes that it never will.
Young Aldo, there are but two paths. Inherit the order of this world, or destroy it.
I gotta say, like, I never would have freaking pieced together what VaatiVidya is piecing together here, because, like, I don't think about characters in their perspectives. I just, like, think about what they tell me and how I should react to what they tell me. Like, I often, like, this is like a good learning lesson for me, like, in the future, like if I'm playing a video game or anything like that, or if I want to make a story or anything like that. It's like understanding the character that you're talking to and understanding their intentions. I think if you can do those two things, characters come to life when you're able to do that. And that's why I think, like, that's why I'm so thankful for these videos, is because though I'm not good at doing it myself, he can do it for me. Like, he can show me the importance of understanding a character's motives. Like, I don't think that way, right? There's so many different aspects about these games that we all enjoy, right? We can enjoy lore, gameplay, you know, the drip that comes along with it. But, like, if you have no story, you have, like, no game. So story, I think, is the most important thing of all. But it's obscure and it's not clear to you. So I think being able to understand or try, like, be able to figure out a character's intention brings the character to life. I just wanted to add that tidbit there, and I think VaatiVidya does that well. I might be glazing here, but I think it's worth the glaze, to be honest.
A true monarch can make such a choice.
To link the fire or to let it fade. These aren't two choices, they're one. This is what Aldia calls inheriting the order of the world. It's the order Gwyn began long ago when he linked the flame, forcing the darkness and the light into a constant ebb and flow, a cycle that would repeat itself throughout.
It sounds like it first started with Gwyn. So if Gwyn never... so if Gwyn never linked the fire in the first place, then the Age of Man would just take over. It all makes sense now. He committed the first sin. Gwyn committed the first sin. This is making a lot more sense to me now.
Throughout the centuries. But Aldia tells us of a second choice, not to inherit the order of the world, but to destroy the cycle entirely. And this is exactly the ending Dark Souls 2 needed, for we are the one undead in history who is able to ignore the hollowing effects of the curse. And in my previous video on this topic, I told you about the effects of gathering the 3 crowns from the DLC. When you have the 3 crowns, it doesn't cure the undead curse, it stops you from hollowing. And once you have united the crown...
Really? That's what it does? I had no clue!
...of lords long past, you have the ability to ignore your fate. You can now exist outside of the cycle.
Interesting.
For while every other undead is immortal, you are the only one who will never be broken by the curse, and you are the one who will never hollow.
Many monarchs have come and gone. One drowned in poison, another succumbed to flame. Still another slumbers in the realm of earth. Not one of them stood here as you do now. You conqueror of adversities. Give us your answer.
Throughout the entire game, we've been told that we do what we do without really knowing why. But that is exactly what it means to be man. It's exactly what is required of you in the end. For there is no path, and we are the one undead who can forge forward, forging a new path and bringing us into a new age.
So how, if we have this power, how can we change the fate of the cycle? Like, what are we just the only ones not affected by it, or are we able to make other people unaffected by it? Because it seems like this is like only for us, right? Like, if we wanted to change the whole world, how could we do that?
Not an age of ancients which passed naturally, not an age of fire which Gwyn failed to implement, nor an age of dark which Nishandra perished by. We are the true monarch, who cannot perish, who cannot hollow, and we seek to break free of the cycle, to march forward bravely into an uncertain future.
Alright, this is the ending I did not choose. I sat on the throne. And it's lighting.
There is no path. Beyond the scope of light, beyond the reach of dark. What could possibly await us?
What does he mean by us? It's just me. It's just the character.
And yet we seek it insatiably. Such is our fate.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Thank you, VaatiVidya. I have chills. I have literal chills. Dang, what a good video. What a good video. Yeah, guys, go like this video. Go watch this video for yourselves, man. Great stuff here. All right. The last on the list is the Prepare to Cry series. I am going to start with all of them. I don't really want to watch the trailer, so I'm going to start with Sin the Slumbering Dragon. How do I skip?
Everything ends. Even the brightest bonfire will fade to embers. We've all seen that before.
Gonna like it anyways.
On to a fragile flame. You had a life before this. There was a woman, a home, a child, a curse. Your woman, your home, your child, right?
Wait. Should I watch this? I guess we're watching it.
What happened to them? You don't remember. What you do remember is the curse. You struggle against it, but it consumes you, and you experience death. And in death, you dream. You dream of a lost kingdom. A murky, forgotten land. A place where souls may mend your ailing mind. Then you live once again.
Bro, this cutscene is so good!
Died? When did you get to this forest? Doesn't matter, push on. But you're tired, so tired. Now, all you remember is that your memory is fading. But wasn't there something else? There were important memories. They were everything to you. Now they've melted away, and you're agonized by their loss. You're aggrieved by this curse. And so you throw away everything you used to be, and gain a new purpose. Discover the origins of the curse, and use the legendary souls of Drangleic to maintain your sanity. But soon you realize you're not the only one who journeyed to Drangleic with this goal. Drangleic. Once Drangleic was a mighty kingdom, led by a wise king and a mighty queen. But giants from a far-off land waged war with the kingdom to reclaim something that was stolen from them. The giants were repelled, but the weakened kingdom soon fell victim to the curse of the undead. Hollowed soldiers overcame the lands, and the king who once had the strength to lead his people also found the strength to fight them. But something went wrong.
The king has locked himself away, and no one has seen the queen. The kingdom of Drangleic is in decay. Everything will crumble and waste away so that something new may be born.
That is dope.
Drangleic. It bears resemblance to a place we once knew. A world with struggle between light and dark. A kingdom with a sinner, a king, a doomed betrayer, and a mass of the dead. A land where the curse of men reflects the curse of the world. Every flame turns to ashes. Kingdoms rise and fall, some light, some dark, all struggling for new beginnings with a fragile flame trying to survive among the embers. But perhaps struggling is the fire's ordinary state. The curse of life is the curse of want, and so you peer into the fog in hope of answers.
Dude.
This video was made slightly better because of the 408 people who kindled this channel. If you're interested in supporting this channel and getting rewards like seeing videos early, then click the bonfire.
What a great trailer.
This is the story of a dragon with poison in his heart, and it's the story of the race that discovered him, worshipped his magnificence, but ultimately perished by his side. Dragons have always been intriguing to humanity, with many believing they hold the secrets to life itself. One who believed this was Vendrick, king of Drangleic, and his brother Aldia. Together they experimented on dragons, in the hopes that they could learn more about their existence. Eventually, they were successful, recreating an ancient dragon with the ability to peer into the past, to view the stories of old so that they might learn from them. This is one such story. In the ancient dragon's eyrie, before the chamber with the dragon's egg, is a mural that depicts an ancient civilization who existed long ago deep below the deepest depths. Legend has it that deep below the earth, behind a door locked from the inside, is a magnificent city built for a great slumbering dragon.
That's still right there. That view right there is like breathtaking.
In a bygone age, the king in the depths built his city around this beast. This subterranean world centered around the great sanctum that housed the dragon in its depths, and was aptly named Shulva, the Sanctum City. This was a religious city, where sorceries were considered taboo, but miracles flourished, as the people there were grounded in their faith. The people prayed and worshipped, and the priestesses sang to soothe the dragon in its slumber. One wonders whether a single phrase of their song ever reached the dragon's ears, but to people of faith, such questions matter not. As is common,
the king had a dear queen.
And the queen sang to the dragon also. At this point in our story, you should know that the dragon has a tragic secret. Deep within him, sin harbors a dreadful store of poison, and there will come a time where he cannot bear it any longer. Looking back, it's impossible to know whether the people knew of the poison, or even if the dragon himself knew. Perhaps the people of the city prayed, sang, and soothed out of fear. Fear that the waking of the dragon would lead to their demise.
Could be, that's valid.
This could only serve to strengthen their faith, for fear is the heart of reverence, and the people revered their magnificent sleeping beast, the center of their faith. It should come as no surprise to you that men would come to covet the dragon. To the Drakeblood Knights, fresh dragon blood was sacrosanct. They believed that by obtaining it, they could come to a true understanding of life, allowing them to transcend their own pointless existence. In a world where strength of purpose keeps one from hollowing, a belief like this isn't so strange. Led by Soyorg and his famous spear, the Drakeblood Knights lay siege to Shulva. The king of Shulva called his sanctum knights to arms, many of whom renounced their own flesh to eternally guard the sanctum from the assault of Soyorg and his Drakeblood Knights. They were sentenced to eternal stewardship, yet soon the day would come where the sanctum received nary a visitor. During the conflict, the dragon slept, lulled by the queen's song. You have to wonder who sent Soyorg and his Drakeblood Knights, so look now at the crest upon the ring of Soyorg and see the truth of things. This is the crest of Drangleic. Soyorg, leader of the Drakeblood Knights and possibly of Vendrick's kingdom, cuts down the soldiers of the sanctum and kills the king in the depths. He then faces the slumbering dragon.
Oh man,
with
what
visions of dragon
great
blood
boss
and
fight here.
Soyorg pierces the dragon with a flash of his steel, piercing Sin through the chest. And as you can imagine, it wasn't what he was expecting. Sin immediately awakens, and from his wound spews forth the deadly poison that had long been brewing within him. It blankets the entire city in a miasmic cloud, restoring the dragon's purity, but toppling the city. So Yorg and his Drakeblood knights disappeared into the sanctum, and nothing more was heard of the race that discovered a dragon and worshipped its magnificence. Until now. There have been many kings and kingdoms, hierarchies that rose and fell, leaving ruined kingdoms behind. We visit the memories of Vendrick, king of his own unraveled kingdom.
I am no king. I am more fit to be a jester. I was unaware of my own blindness. We are feeble vessels, with feebler souls. We would cast aside the prop of life, only to face greater hardship. Are you another such fool? Or something more? Seeker of fire, conqueror of dark.
I gotta say, King Vendrick's voice actor, wow, he did a great job.
Do you intend to link the fire?
The fire, flame, oh flame.
Then you must first take the throne.
Take the throne.
Prove your worth.
Find the
ancient crowns.
Find the ancient crowns.
Seek adversity, and they will be yours.
And they will be
and
yours.
Your wishes. Granted.
Granted.
Somewhere within the sanctum is the crown of the sunken king, the crown of a king who came before Vendrick, the crown of a king who was killed by Sir Yorg on the day that the dragon awoke. We explore the ruined sanctum, and we uncover the truths that it holds. The soldiers in the sanctum are now undead, coated with the corrosive poison of the dragon, but still carrying out their orders to defend the sanctum from outsiders. Throughout the sanctum we find open chests, which are a tribute to the grave robbers and thieves who have flocked to this place. Sin the sleeping dragon now roams his domain, sleeping lightly where he pleases. He even clears a bridge for us at one point, killing the 2 soldiers that block our path. Dragons in all the lore have always kept to themselves. They either think themselves above man or do not care for his conflicts. You have to wonder about Sin. Did he harbor malicious intent? He had poison in his heart, but when he was pierced by Yorg's spear, the poison gushed out and restored his purity. This implies he was pure before, which suggests that the poison was placed within him. But by whom?
The Squalid Queen!
Right before Sin.
The Squalid Queen.
Alana, the Squalid Queen, once again sings to Sin, the slumbering dragon. After the kingdom is ruined by Sin's awakening, she remains alone. I believe Alana sang the song of poison into the dragon's heart, and was at least partly responsible for the fall of the sunken king.
Why would she do that?
Just like her sister Nishandra was responsible for the fall of Drangleic.
Ah.
Nothing explicitly confirms Alana's intentions, except the pattern that repeats itself. We are discovering that all great kings have queens that lay in wait, waiting for the right moment to strike, and it's easy to believe that the queen of the Sanctum City was partly responsible for its fall.
Man,
Alana
devious.
defends her sunken kingdom
They're devious.
with a mixture of fire, dark, and most notably, poison and filth. Her essence is that of filth and neglect. She even summons a depraved replica of the king's hand, Felstat, completing the image of a queen devoted to making a mire of the world. After we conquer Alana, we learn who she was from her soul.
Seeker of fire, I see you've subdued another foul creature. One of the Father of the Abyss spawn. That confounded quintessence of humanity. The Abyss once had form, but then dissipated. And yet, traces of its existence endured.
Oh
Each
my
fragment,
gosh.
thirsting for power, spread dark with no relent.
Bro!
My dear Chandra was one such fragment.
Manus was such a menace that even the fragments of his body became like main characters in Dark Souls 2. Honestly, guys, let's pay respects to Manus, Father of the Abyss. Holy crap. His goatness just went up levels in my book.
A feeble, tiny thing that thirsted for power more than any other, driven by insatiable lust for a worthy vessel.
All queens thus far are the children of the sentient abyss that existed long ago. They are the pieces that regained form in ways that hint at humanity's true nature. They seek to be whole once again. Alanna, the Queen of the Sanctum King, is a child of wrath. She's gathering souls and power from the slumbering dragon in anticipation of the coming day of vengeance. Her sister, Nashandra, the Queen of Drangleic, is a child of want. The king's dear Chandra seeks the throne and the power to reshape the world that comes with it. For this, she needs a vessel. Nashandra guards the throne. Alanna guards a crown. I'm sure a third sister lies in the remains of the Old Iron King's kingdom, and we've yet to see her. It appears that the sisters are keeping the crowns and the throne warm, waiting for some day of reckoning where they avenge their father. Every King of Light has had a fragment of Manus undoing their efforts from the start. Like Vendrick says, the brighter the flame, the deeper their shadow. Sin's death was a result of our desire for the crown of the sunken king, for it is now our job to gather the crowns and link the fire. We aim to be a Lord of Light that the previous kings weren't, and we will succeed in this. But what if we have a queen of our own?
Oh! Bearer of the curse, I will always be at your side.
Ah! Hey, them
hope has fully withered.
Them some sweet words. Them some sweet words. Don't mind me some sweet words. All right. Awesome, dude. What a great video. Oh. All right, let's go to Sir Alone and the Iron King.
A man is defined by his ambitions. Before the Iron Crown, all the young lord had was an iron will. Little known and unestablished, the lord held some power, but he wanted a kingdom to match his pride. So with ambition alone, he raised an army and threw his entire might against the kingdom of Ven. Ven was not a desirable region, but even so, the lord lost much to acquire it. He wrested this small throne from its previous ruler and became a king. This act left him enfeebled. He had
That's a cool armor
sacrificed
set.
everything for this kingdom, and was discovering that ambition without wisdom is like a bird without wings. How could he hope to hold this kingdom? Ambition had inspired his subjects to action, yes, but ambition alone cannot run a country. It cannot substitute the qualities a ruler needs. The king was short-sighted, he knew little, and his story likely would have ended here. But then, from the east, a powerful warrior came, a man wielding a bewitched sword so powerful it was unknown whether he controlled the blade or whether the blade controlled him. This man was Alon. So Alon stands apart from the other characters in our story.
One of the best fights in Dark Souls 2. I love this fight. But I gotta say, one of the best fights, easily one of the worst runbacks I've ever experienced.
The others are defined by their wants and ambitions, but Alon has none to speak of. Thus, it's impossible to say why he came to this land, or what he saw in the king. Perhaps he thought he was destined for great things, or perhaps they became...
Oh my gosh. Ah, man, look at that armor! Sorry.
Whatever his desires, Alon decided to serve the short-sighted king. His wisdom was a light in the darkness, and the king was reborn as a powerful ruler. With wisdom and pride, Alon and the king did a great many things. Their rule was defined by their strength, and the kingdom was shaped by their union. The king's army was revolutionized under Alon.
Oh my gosh. Just looking at those archers is giving me flashbacks. Oh my gosh. Woo!
With the men mastering great bows and slender blades wielded in an eastern fashion. The king, as many kings before him, found himself enraptured with fire and all it represented. He appointed a master of pyromancy, a man named Egil, who would go on to grant fire a will of its own. Egil adored his bull-headed king, and was awarded a great ornamental minotaur helm. The minotaur, half man, half bull, would come to symbolize the stubbornness and bestial strength of the king and his kingdom. For even with Alon's counsel,
Iron Bull, man, worst way to die ever. Look it up or don't.
So like
viewer discretion advised.
To sustain his country,
or the Brazen Bull, I think that's what it's called.
The land. Past the hunting grounds in the copse lay a place called Harvest Valley. The king exploited the land here so thoroughly that poison seeped from the earth, but it mattered not. The stubborn king persisted, adapting his workers and driving the slaves ever harder. The bounty of ore found here was high, so the kingdom became wealthy and well supplied. Within the valley, great relics of times long past were uncovered, kingdoms from long ago, sunken and forgotten to time. A warning existed here, but the king was blind to it. He did not seek to learn from past kingdoms buried beneath the earth. Rather, he intended to profit from their passing. And so, when the scorching iron scepter was found, everything changed.
What a great scene right there.
With heat, you can fuel, create, destroy. It's one of the simplest forms of energy, and thus it's one of the most useful. With this artifact, the King of Ven revolutionized his kingdom. Smelting iron became trivial. There were no bounds to what he could create. Iron melted, shifted, and was brought under his control, as if he held sway over the forces of life and creation. The kingdom's warriors were equipped in iron armament. Hulking great suits of armor were brought to life. The king curated a palace made entirely of iron.
That's
and
cool.
Some legends even say that he tried to create a dragon out of iron. Driven by
I don't know how that would work, but cool. Cool try, maybe?
Presiding over his great age, the Iron King knew unparalleled power. None could stand in his way, and any who would try would be crushed under his might. Be that as it may, the Iron King still faced challenges. All the iron in the world could not cure the undead curse, but not for lack of trying on the king's part. He sought to shackle and imprison all undead in iron, converting the copse to a hunting ground and prison where undead, not animals, were the prey. It seemed fruitless, however, and the hollowed undead continued to multiply even within the ranks of those hunting them. In his rage, the Iron King built a great circular colosseum to torture the undead. They were ritually let out of their cells.
Oh boy, did this... Oh, this place tortured me, man. The old Iron King, man, he got away with it too. Oh my gosh.
He run down by the executioner chariot, unable to escape and unable to die. The punishment for offending the Iron King's might was harsh, even if undeserved. These things became reflections of the king's conceit, hallmarks of his reign.
Oh, man.
At this moment, a terrible woman who would be his ruinous queen set course for the kingdom.
I forgot who his woman was.
And then, at the peak of the Iron
Nadalia,
King's rule,
Bride of
his
Ash.
friend walked away. Alon was gone, his distaste left unspoken. The king was alone. How had Alon dared to leave him? The king's might was iron, his right to rule unchallenged. He could not suffer the indignity, would not. So he tracked his old friend to a far-off keep. He saw that Alon had brought some of the king's own men with him and had posted them as guards, knowing the king would come after him.
Wow.
But the Iron King had grown powerful, and Alon's knights were no match for his might. At the top of the tower, Alon waited for his king to meet him.
Oh,
Once,
shoot.
The question the king might have asked was why. Why had Alon left him? But he had been king for a long time, and his arrogance had grown, so when the two men clashed, their ties were forgotten. They had come far together, ever since the days when the Iron King was just a small lord on a small throne. Alon had helped him become the man he was today, and he paid dearly for it. For once, Alon would have avoided every blow, but now it was the king who
Also, one of the prettiest boss arenas in the game by a long shot as well.
Overwhelmed the teacher. Alon took his own life in the end, dying with honor instead of to the king's hand.
Wait, no, he only does that if you no-hit the boss. If he doesn't hit you, he'll commit seppuku. Alright?
The memory we experience doesn't end with Alon's death, as you would expect. When we step inside a memory, we see it through to the end.
Look at that reflective surface right there. I bet those footsteps sound, oh, so good.
The king walked into the adjacent room after Alon departed, and what he saw there would steal this memory in his mind forever. In this room, Alon had kept the king's old throne, a reminder of the king's humble origins, a keepsake from the time he had traveled to the king's land, offering his servitude and friendship to the man who would become the Iron King.
Wow, that's actually sad.
Ends here.
Dang.
Properly, man's ambition allows us to take flight. On ambition's back, we reach greater heights, and kingdoms are elevated alongside the man. But if man looks back and sees not where he has been, then on which path does he travel? The Iron King had lost his way, and now he had lost a friend and mentor as well. From this point onwards, we see evidence that this event had broken the man.
That is so,
After Alon departed,
so sad.
The Iron King named his knights after Sir Alon, for they were loyal to him more than the Iron King.
Dang.
He took Alon's armor back to his home, enshrining it and locking it below his current towering iron throne.
Oh my
This bonfire
gosh.
below the throne came to be known as Smelter Throne Bonfire.
I got chills running through my body right now. That is crazy.
His pyromancer Egil had experimented with giving fire a will of its own, and
that's Laurentius. Laurentius's armor.
King had become adept at infusing suits of iron with souls. Now, towards the end of his rule, he crafted one more, a terrifying suit of black iron that would come to represent the demons he now held. It's implied he infused it with Alon's soul, for the demon he created took on the combat style of his old friend, battling with inhuman leaps into the air, and the ability to infuse its sword with fire by plunging it into its belly just like
I never would have made that connection. That is very cool. Also, the let's talk about the blue flame smelter demon. That guy has free tickets to the Golden Gate Bridge, okay? Oh my gosh. And I think hands down, that run back is the worst. The run back to the blue smelting demon is worse than the run back to Sir Alone, in my opinion. Goodness. Oh my goodness. That's all I have to say is, oh my goodness.
Lore is unclear on what happens next. Some of it says that the earth spouted fire, with a smelter demon arising from the flames. It says that the short-sighted king was incinerated by the creature in one swing, and his castle devoured in a sea of flames. The other side of the lore says that the king hurled himself into the magma, perhaps in agony over what he had done to his friend. Though, in the end, the Queen of Ruin arrives at the kingdom and finds no king or country. The short-sighted king had sunk below the scorching iron, and his iron rule sunk with him. If this video added a bit of depth to the experience you had with the game, then let me know.
Yeah, hey, you don't even gotta let it. Yeah. I'm liking the video.
That's my goal here on YouTube. If you want to become a part of the small group that directly supports me, then please click the link on the screen. It'll take you to a page where you can pledge a small amount of money per month to be part of a small, engaged community of direct supporters. This means less ads for everyone, as well as a few awesome perks for donators, like getting to see videos early or being able to shape my channel going into the future. Regardless of what you donate though, thank you for watching. It means a lot, and I'll see you guys next time.
Thank you, Vaati. On to the next one.
Gwyn, Lord of Sunlight, was the first Lord of Light. He feared the darkness, feared what it would do to his age of fire. So he surrounded himself with powerful allies, even splitting his own soul so that their power could be greater. They would all fail him in the end.
The Four Kings,
Most
baby.
abandoned the kingdom. One went mad, another tried to relight the first flame, but none compared to the treachery of the Four Kings.
Oh my
the
gosh.
Four Kings who ruled over New Londo were praised for their foresight.
Absolutely.
Yet still, they succumbed to the temptations of the abyss.
Absolutely
In
despicable
exchange
beings.
for the art of life drain, the Four Kings gave up their kingdoms to Dark. These were the events of long, long ago, and today no one remembers the kings' names. However, names change, but the story remains the same, and Four Kings again lose their kingdoms to the abyss.
Yeah, I was wondering.
One of the four is Vendrick, the present Lord of Light. Like Gwyn before him, Vendrick surrounded himself with allies he trusted. He favored simple warriors who staked their every battle on strength alone, and he valued knowledge of all things.
My lord made magnificent findings on souls, an accomplishment for the ages. He vanquished the 4 great ones and built this kingdom upon their souls.
Our king has watched over this land since ages long, long ago.
The man was born to rule. When he heard that the giants from across the sea held a threat to his kingdom, he vanquished them and claimed their strength. When the Iron Kingdom fell, Vendrick sent his soldiers to claim the replete stores of iron held in Broom Tower. And when the undead curse threatened his own kingdom, Vendrick created monstrosities in the name of the greater good. Everything he did for his kingdom. To serve him, the king had 2 he valued above all others. Rain and Velstadt.
Bro, Fume Knight, Velstadt and the Fume Knight. I gotta say, drips impeccable on both ends. I gotta say though, Fume Knight, best boss run back of the whole entire game. And because of that, that adds to the value of the boss itself. Fume Knight, I think, best boss fight in the whole game. Best boss fight in the whole game.
These men were known as the left and right arms of the king, even though they were as different as night and day. Raim, the darker brother, cared deeply for his king. He sought the man's admiration and saw Vendrick as a regal father figure. His great shield was emblazoned with a great raven, an omen of death, but it was Raim's favorite bird. This great shield would one day be the only thing left of him in Drangleic, a foreshadowing of his fate.
Wait. That's the Fume Knight, right? Am I wrong? He looks just like the Fume Knight.
Velstadt, the right arm of the king, was always at Vendrick's side, as if he were his lord's own shadow. They say Drangleic is no place for any cleric with ambition, yet Velstadt had risen to the top, and remained the exception to his lord's disregard of miracles. The lore tells us that Velstadt was lured to Drangleic from a faraway land, but forgot even why he came. You can trace the man's origins to the sunken kingdom of Shulva, where even now, amongst the ruins, a wrathful queen summons a follower in his image. Such was his loyalty. This queen brought destruction to her people and to her king. She rose to power by gaining favor with the king and by singing to the ancient dragon they worshipped. When the king of Shulva realized her true nature, it was already too late. The ancient dragon awoke and spewed poison over the entire city until only Alana, the squalid queen, remained. If Velstadt is indeed from Shulva, one has to wonder how he didn't see history repeating itself. For the darkness was rising, and his king was in danger. Alana was not the only child of Dark seeking a king. A woman named Nishandra arrived in Drangleic and began courting the current king.
She warned our lord of the looming threat across the seas, of the giants. The king crossed the ocean and defeated the giants, with the queen at his side.
There was no better way to seduce Vendrick, and the queen knew it. He valued this kingdom above all else, and would vanquish any enemy to keep it safe. So one has to ask, were the giants ever a threat? Or were they simply a target Nishandra used to gain Vendrick's trust? Regardless, Vendrick conquered the giants' homeland and counted the battle as won.
The queen brought peace to this land and to her king.
A peace so deep, it was like
the dark.
Oh.
A man can be judged by the company he keeps, and the company Vendrick kept was loyal indeed. Velstadt, the royal Aegis, would follow his king into darkness if need be. But there is a difference between loyalty to a king and loyalty to a kingdom. So only one saw Nishandra for what she truly was, while the other was blinded by faith.
Oh,
Raim.
Shoot.
Raim was denounced as a traitor for speaking for his kingdom, but against the king and queen. Velstadt, utterly faithful towards the crown, would vanquish Raim for daring.
Honestly, W Fume Knight, man. I mean, I know him as the Fume Knight. Raim, W Raim, man. seeing reality as it was. Good on him, man.
Question the monarchy. So the two arms of the king clashed, instead of facing the true threat.
It's like freaking... What is it like? Bro, name a better duo, right? We have Naruto and Sasuke. We have... Bro, I'm drawing a blank here. What do we have? Batman and Robin. Anakin and Ben Kenobi. What sad story is when brothers, close brothers and friends turn on each other. Or fight, you know? Sucks seeing friends and close people fight.
Nishandra had eliminated any threats to the kingdom and had found a king blinded by love. She was perfectly poised to usurp the throne, and Raim saw it. The king's tragic flaw was his pride, and Velstat's flaw was his mindless faith. For without tolerating those who challenge us, how can we grow? The light is always moving forward, and the darkness will only win when the light stops seeking it out. With the kingdom at peace, Nishandra had halted the kingdom's momentum, and darkness crept closer. Velstad should have recognized the pattern that took place long ago in Shulva. Both of his kings were being manipulated by a child of dark, yet Velstad did nothing to stop it happening again. His faith in his king was absolute, the truth irrelevant. The king valued strength and loyalty, and both were on display here. Velstad fought for his king, Raim for the fate of his kingdom. Both were loyal, both were powerful. Yet Velstad was the victor.
Oh, dang.
Raim was not killed for his treason. He was exiled. His strength had not been enough, so he left the kingdom in search of greater strength. He would never return. He had learned that being right is meaningless without power to back it up. Anyone could see that the kingdom was deteriorating under Nishandra's rule.
Well, that reminds me of the saying, history is written by the victors, right? Whoever wins the battle gets to tell the stories of what happened. So, he is like, I need to power up.
Yet Velstad's faith had overpowered the truth. Velstad had come from a kingdom where a dark queen remained, so perhaps Raim set out to check if other kingdoms had suffered the same fate. So it was that he found himself in Broom Tower, a place that had once belonged to the Iron King before his fall. It was common knowledge that the Iron King had taken no queen, so what Raim found there must have chilled him and confirmed his fears about Nishandra. The entire tower had been enveloped by a black fog. It repelled any who came close, haunting suits of armor and fighting off any soldiers who attempted to enter. However, Raim was not most soldiers. A stalwart warrior, Raim had the ability to expunge the black fog.
That's so cool.
And tracked the black fog to its
that
source
is sick,
at the
man.
base of the tower. Amongst the remnants of a past kingdom covered in ash was Nadalia, the Ashen Maiden. Nadalia arrived at this tower seeking a king, but was too late. The king she sought had already sunk below the molten iron, and his rule had passed.
Dude!
Dispirited, this child of dark made Broom Tower her home. In the place she might have ruled alongside her king. Perhaps Raim's original intent was to banish Nadalia, the Dark Queen of Broom Tower. If he could do this, then he could return with proof to his kingdom and make his king see the truth.
Bro, he was on such a noble quest.
Tower, though, this changed. Just like Raim, Nadalia was deprived of a king and kingdom. Perhaps they found some mutuality in this, for Raim decided to trust this child of dark, allowing her to cling to his sword in her miasmic form. Raim was reborn, granted true purpose under a newfound mother rather than a regal father. Which begs the question, could such a queen be evil, or was Raim another victim of a dark queen's manipulation?
Easily. Wait, though, didn't the queen, I think I read in the lore, didn't the queen actually end up actually loving the Fume Knight? Or am I just tripping balls here? I'm probably tripping balls here, but I like to believe that there's like a romance that they had for each other or something like that.
Raim left Drangleic. The kingdom collapsed. The giants invaded with revenge in their hearts, and Nishandra took the throne, forcing Vendrick into hiding. Volstagg followed his king into the undead crypt, where he would guard him in darkness forever. Raim remained in Brim Tower, protecting the Ashen Maiden from harm. And then you come, seeking answers in empty kingdoms. This video is supported by Patreon.com
it ends there.
and all of my supporters over there.
Okay.
Basically, if you don't know what Patreon is, it's similar to Kickstarter in that you give money for a project, but it's different than Kickstarter because you give this money...
Oh, frick. No. Hey, y'all, if y'all feel inclined, please, leave a like on the videos.
I still think on that creature from the abyss that preyed upon me. My faculties were far from lucid, but I
we're watching the next video, about the Ivory King.
Quite clearly sensed certain emotions. A wrenching nostalgia, a lost joy, an object of obsession, and a sincere hope to reclaim it. Could these thoughts belong to the beast from the abyss? But if that were true, then perhaps it is no beast after all.
Bro, that thing's a
4 queens
beast.
remain in empty kingdoms, all of them fragments of this creature that was vanquished long ago. We have seen examples of their evil in what remains. One stands alone in the ruins of her home, another rose from the ashes of a lost kingdom, and yet another gained the love of her king and used it to force him into a dark corner, where he would forever think on his mistakes. But you will hear the tale of a 4th queen before the end of this story, and she will make you question everything that you have previously held true. Alsana, Queen of the Ivory King, also stands alone in an empty kingdom.
Dang!
You, approaching the Leon Lois, turn back. This dead city has nothing to offer.
Oh, she was trying to keep us away.
Do not seek the old chaos, nor its twisted flame.
Why do we build walls? Well, there are 2 reasons. The first is more common. It's to protect something precious. But the second is much more rare and much more terrifying. It's to keep something from getting out. The walls of Aleum Lois are those second kind of walls. The city is a Pandora's box, built to contain one of the most ancient evils the world ever knew, the chaos. The chaos did not always exist. It was born of fear and desperation.
Yo, I just want to say, I struggled on this boss fight because I did not go gather any of the knights. I just had the one knight. Oh my gosh, when I tell you, like, I'm fighting this boss with like 10 different knights following me, I am not lying to you. Oh, I hated this fight so much. I had no clue you can gather the help of any other knights. And that was so, this boss made me want to rip out my hair.
Long ago in the Age of Lords, theirs was the earliest civilization, built upon the first flame ever to be. 4 powerful beings derived their strength from this flame, for it gave them souls. 1 soul of dark, 1 of light, a soul of death, and a soul of life. Inevitably, this first flame began to dwindle, and so too did the Lords. The Witch of Izalith, with great power over flame, thought to focus the power of her life soul to create a new flame, a second flame that could replace the first, so that their age would not end. So the witch and her daughters initiated this ritual, but something went wrong. The flame she created was too powerful, and she failed to control it. This was the birth of chaos.
The chaos
flame! The witch and her
flame!
sisters were either killed or malformed, and the witch herself became the bed of all chaos, deep below Izalith, a city lost to the twisted flame. Countless demons spewed forth from the inextinguishable chaos, infesting Izalith until the land was overrun. Lifetimes later, the bed of chaos would be defeated, but not destroyed, and after the rise and fall of many civilizations, the chaos rose again, in the country of Ferossa, a barren plain where Aleum Lois was to be built.
Okay.
The Ferossans were the ones who dealt with the chaos, for it had erupted on their land. Pherocians are famed for their god of war, valuing valor and combat prowess.
Oh.
Notable men of Ferocia were shieldless Lithian, who grew tired of the frailty of human foes and set off to slay dragons. There was Vengal, the mad beast of the battlefield,
baby!
who claimed the heads of countless enemies, and there were the Ferocian Lion Knights, feared for their nimble two-handed swordplay, but the highest-ranking knight, and the most famed of them all, was the Ivory King of Ferocia.
Oh, yes.
After taking his crown, they say he was the first to swing his sword in times of need, be it for his homeland or for his people. And his sword was required far to the north, for the old chaos had resurfaced there once more.
This land is barren, cursed by the old chaos. It gave birth to atrocities, and the people fled in fear. Until our Lord, the Ivory King, came.
With his sword, his soul, and his Lois Knights, the Ivory King fought back the chaos. When it was contained, they built Aleum Lois, a vast rampart city. Golems patrolled the walls, given life by the Ivory King, and they were charged with the containment of the creatures of the chaos within. A cult of priestesses was formed, who devoted themselves to a ritual that appeased the ancient flame. The king himself erected his throne at the very entrance to chaos, for he wished to serve as the first line of defense. Any creature of chaos that threatened his city would have to pass him first, and the king would not falter. It was here, in Aleum Lois, that the Ivory King took a queen, Alsana.
Wait, did he glitch himself up to the very top of these steps, or did he figure out a way to get up there naturally? Because I wanted to see this person up close, and I could not. Also, the fact that he gets to overlook the entrance to the Chaos Flame is kind of cool, actually.
She was a woman of great power, for she possessed the same talent as the priestesses did, and she quelled the Chaos Flame below. Together, in a city cut off from the rest of the world, and facing constant peril, they were wed, and they stood together despite the hardship. Like the other queens before her, Alsana was born of dark. She wed her king out of selfishness, for she saw that the king of Ferocia was strong, and intended to find safety by his side. Nevertheless, the Ivory King loved her, and supported this child of the abyss even as he fought against the flames of chaos. Two ancient evils weighed upon the king, one in front of him and one at his side, but even so he weathered them both, for himself and for his people.
He weathered them both.
There is evidence that having a child of dark by his side weighed upon the king. He had 7 pets, and 2 are found in the outskirts of Aleum Lois, tasked with the mercy killings of those who were exiled from the city. Lud and Zalan are great cats, brothers of Ava, a tiger that remains in the city itself. The 2 outside are cursed with a dark aura, and one has to wonder whether they became this way due to the presence of Alsana, for they are kept out of sight where none would report on their true nature or what the child of dark was doing to those who stood beside her. Inevitably, there came a moment where the Ivory King sensed the degradation of his own soul. In this moment, he made a decision. He would not run from chaos, rather he would give himself to chaos in order to appease the flame. Without a word, he left his home, he left his wife, and he left his country, but not without one final act. For before he set off to strike at the heart of chaos, he entrusted everything to Alsana. Upon his parting, he handed her Aleum Lois, the city, and a ceremonial blade by its namesake. The twin blades of Aleum Lois, one light and one dark, were entwined as the Ivory King and his dark queen once were. He knew Alsana was a child of dark all along, but he said nothing. He believed her to be more than the sum of her parts, and so she was.
Dude, W-Mans right there.
Belief in the queen allowed her to rise above her dark nature. It was his final gift to her. But then he left, never to return.
Inevitably, the king was drained of vigor and plunged into the chaos's heart. Aleum Lois was frozen in time. Its leader lost. I remain here to contain the chaos, honoring my lord's wishes.
Yo, wait, hold on. The Child of the Dark was able to do that. That's kind of crazy if we think about it.
And yet to know your name, stranger. Will you lend me your strength? I have but one wish. That my dear lord might be freed from that unspeakable chaos. Many of Elaine Lewis's faithful knights.
Yeah, okay, so you see what he's doing right here in the video? I did not do until after the fact. So I beat the Ivory King boss, and then I went to explore Elohim Lois. I do things backwards sometimes.
Followed their lord into the chaos. The king's dutiful subjects waited patiently for his homecoming. But it was too long a wait to bear. The knights, reborn, will follow your word. The path to chaos is now open. And please, do all you can.
Chaos claimed the Ivory King, and many knights of Lois. Many were burned along with their lord, and to this day they burn in agony alongside their once proud king, lacking all sense of self, and driven only to expunge those who might disturb the flame, even former compatriots. But those who survived fight with us now, commanded to strike down their former comrades and their own king. Their sacrifice is total, and they freeze the portals so that we may face Chaos's new champion. What makes a king? Some say that it is birthright, while others call it destiny. Perhaps it is not important, as long as the king's name serves to unite his people. The Ivory King was the greatest king we have seen so far. His sacrifice saved the world from chaos, and he was not changed by the Child of Dark at his side. In fact, she alone remains, despite her fearful...
Whoa, no, he's like the only one who kind of changed the Child of Dark. He's like the only one who actually had faith in her.
...nature, and watches over chaos out of respect for her lord. Such was his influence over her. For Alsana, we free the Ivory King's soul.
To be honest, man, I think this just means that you have to be a man worthy of that level of respect. Like, as far as I'm seeing it, the Ivory King is like the Chad of this game. I gotta say.
From the grip of chaos.
You've granted my one wish. My dear lord has departed. Now, I have no regrets. I was born amidst the dark. Long ago, in the depths of the abyss, my father perished. The dark shattered into tiny pieces, one of which was me.
Oh,
how frightful.
Look at that, a little cute humanity. A little cute humanity survived.
A frail thing, born from but a splinter of dark. I felt that I might simply disappear. I am, in fact, the incarnation of my father's fears. I saw that the king of this land was strong. I sought him only to sustain myself, to smother my fears. Now, I realize that he may have known all along. I was born of fear, and my lord provided comfort. And so, here I remain, heiress to my lord's wishes, watching over chaos. Until the end of time.
Oh! What?
My father, once human, succumbed to dark. And later set in motion.
I'm getting emotional. I'm getting a little bit of teary-eyed.
Wonders, guided by its thirst for souls. But perhaps man is no different.
I never heard that dialogue. Man, I got a little bit teary-eyed, not gonna lie. A little teary-eyed there. Wow. I didn't even get a chance to go like the video. What the heck?
I still think of...
Alright.
If a person's identity...
Wow, I gotta say, man, I think that was my favorite lore video there about the characters. Dude, I love the Ivory King now. I love him now. A new playthrough is gonna bring so much more light to my experience. So Ivory King, and honestly Alsana for actually respecting his lord's wish out of her own selfish desires. All right, on to Lucatil of Mira. I never got to complete this girl's quest line because I got lost in the sauce for a bit there and I forgot about her. So I'm excited to see what this story will tell.
Depends on qualities that can crumble. He or she is in danger of despair, for without a sense of self we are nothing, and the world is unmoved by our existence.
If everything should fade, what will be left of me?
We live in fear of this loss of self, our existential crisis.
I'm called Lucatil. I come from Mira, a land of knights. My sword is always ready.
There is only one way up in Mira. Join the Order and prove yourself in battle.
My family had little fortune and no name. I had to carve out a piece of the world for myself. With two things: my sword and my loyalty to my lord.
Who is your lord?
I was raised to wield a sword from birth. Life was hard, but I never gave it a second thought. I had swift success on the battlefield and quickly attained respectable stature.
And then I came here to...
Who are you?
We came to Drang Lake seeking answers. Our flesh, like many others of humanity, is branded with the dark sign of the undead. While marked, an undead's memory of their humanity will fade, until only a hollow husk remains. Undeath robs us of our past, and in doing so, it robs us of our fate. Lucatil was marked, and she bears it with shame, for it forced her out of her homeland. Across many kingdoms, the appearance of this curse and those who bear it has been met with fear and hatred. The King of Iron bound the undead in chains and tortured them endlessly. The current King of Light did much the same, sending them to an inescapable Bastille. It is not so strange to think that the land of Mira would have reacted in much the same manner, damning Lucatil if it was ever discovered what
she wears the brand on her face. I forgot that.
The undead. These poor souls affected by the curse.
An undead gradually loses his humanity until his wits degrade completely.
Finally, he turns hollow and preys upon others.
And a hollow can never be human again.
One can skirt this wicked fate only with the help of the souls found here. Assuming, of course, that the legends are true. I can only hope that they are.
The mask hides Lucatil's shame. It is said that Drang Lake holds the souls that can cure the curse. Many adventurers rose to the call, some driven by greed, others by desperation. For Lucatil, Drang Lake...
Wait, so like, what if one dies in the other world but never comes here? Like, does every being that dies go here in this game? Because, like, what is the other world? Right? I still don't know what that other world is, because they die and then they become an undead. So where were they living before? In the land of Mira? and then get sent to Drangleic? Like, you know what I mean? It's got to be like where they're from, like Ferosa. They came from Ferosa, and then these guys came from Mira, right? And then they die, and then they fall into this pit, and then they're here, right?
Salvation.
I found my thoughts growing hazy. My memories are fading, oldest first. The curse is doing its work upon me. I am frightened. Terribly so. If everything should fade, what will be left of me?
Existential despair. The curse took her knighthood, the thing she devoted her life to. Lucatiel's self was based on her prowess as a knight and her loyalty to her lord. Forced to leave for Drangleic, what does she have left? She will lose herself, given time. She will lose that which made her what she is.
Oh.
I hate the Black Gulch.
My thoughts are very scattered. What is this curse? The question rings in my mind, but I haven't the focus to answer it. Loss frightens me no end.
That's you on test day. That's you on test day. I haven't the focus on the right answer. These multiple choices are blurring my mind. That is the curse. Sorry.
Loss of memory, loss of self. If I were told that by killing you I would be freed of this curse,
she would kill me.
Then I would draw my sword without hesitation. I don't want to die. I want to exist. I would sacrifice anything at all for this. It shames me.
Oh, screw these spiders.
It is the truth. Sometimes I feel obsessed with this insignificant thing called self. Even so, I am compelled to preserve it. Am I wrong to feel so? Surely you do the same in my shoes. Maybe we're all cursed. From the moment we're born.
That's what Solden was kind of talking about.
This same despair. Cursed or not, there is no meaning in the world, beyond what meaning we give it. Despite this, we seek meaning. For a life free of purpose simply means that we are able to imprint our own. We are all a product of our past, and this shapes our future. But an undead is doomed to lose his past, and thus fated to be robbed of his future. Lucatiel has one hope, to find her past and recover who she was.
I had an older brother. We learned to fence together. He became the most decorated swordsman in all of Mira. I never even compared to him. In fact, I never beat him, not once. But then, one day, he was gone, lost without a trace. Now I'm certain that he was taken by the curse.
What the heck? I never saw that thing move.
My tale. My brother must have come here, too. Soon I may forget even about him.
An undead gradually loses his humanity until his wits degrade completely. Finally, he turns hollow and preys upon others.
You... What's become of you? Oh... my dear brother. I won't die in this foul place. You... who are you? Oh... no, forgive me. I know you. Yes, of course. How goes your journey?
We find Lucatiel here after her help in countless battles, and right before her finding her brother. It is assumed that they have fought, but it is not known. Perhaps she never met him, perhaps it's better that way, for he has lost himself, and attacks others to rob them of their humanity. Regardless, Lucatiel never progresses further, so it is here, outside of Aldia's keep, that her journey ends.
Really? Okay.
I know not what you seek in this faraway land, but I pray for your safety. My name is Lucatiel. I beg of you, remember my name, for I may not myself.
She just stops.
Despair is a universal human condition. There is no meaning in the world, and yet we seek it insatiably. Hey guys, if you like that video...
Dang, that honestly, that's kind of a disappointing end to her quest line. That's the meaning of if you go hollow, it's when you stop trying and you give up. That's when you go hollow and people just stop trying. Because if you stop trying, then you've actually failed. Whereas if you push through and you keep on going, there's always hope. There's always hope if you keep on going. But if you stop, you're 100% gonna fail. That's what happens to a lot of people who go hollow in these games. They just stop. Alright guys, let's like the video. And then go on to the very last video of this reaction series of the Dark Souls 2 lore. If I haven't told you already, I'm gonna tell you again now. Subscribe to VaatiVidya for more lore on your favorite games. Especially from Software.
Let's go down a branch of lore and see where it takes us.
Whoa! What am I looking at? Pixels? Or pixels? Okay? What the heck?
Series is to give characters meaning and depth, to bring parts of the story back to life. You would have first noticed the Archdrake sect as you traveled through the Shrine of Amana. Little is known about the Order, though their well-honed miracles and unwavering...
I gotta say, faith. My faith build, I started out with the Archdrake sect, and I gotta say, the Archdrake robe, I gotta say. So drippy as well. So drippy.
Death made them worthy rivals to Dranglaic forces in their day. The magic of the Archdrake was very powerful, especially if you versed them before the patch. These men and women were a part of a sect, which means that they are an offshoot of a larger religion or group. In this case, the Archdrakes are a sect of Lindelt, which is a country known for its clerics and miracles. So the Archdrakes are a small, separate religion to the main religion of Lindelt. But do you want to know what's most interesting about the Archdrake sect? They're hiding something. The secrets of Lindelt rituals are protected by the Archdrake sect, and only a select few are given access to their canon of knowledge, which includes the truthful origins of the Archdrake sect itself. I think From has given us the clues to trace the Archdrake sect's origins. It's never explicitly stated where they're from, but there are so many hints, and it all starts with the description of the shield that teases us with their origins.
Okay.
The slumbering dragon shield. Long ago, in a city named Shulva, there was a race that discovered a great slumbering dragon, worshipped its magnificence, and perished by its side. Shulva was a city founded on miracles and faith in an ancient dragon. As such, the development of its sorceries was stunted as they were considered taboo. Similarly, in Lindelt, a country known for its clerics and their miracles, sorcery was believed to be a profane practice. But as with anything, such beliefs are part faith and part front, hypocrisy. The secrets of Lindelt rituals came to be protected by the Archdrake sect, and the fact that the two countries shared the same hypocritical distaste of sorceries definitely helps link the two together. So if the slumbering dragon shield places the Archdrakes in Shulva, then how did the Archdrakes leave to become a part of Lindelt? Well, they must have left Shulva, and with the invasion of the Drake Blood Knights, they would have had good reason to. The Drake Blood Knights, led by Soyorg, invaded Shulva and fought with its inhabitants. These knights worshipped the blood of dragons, and they were led by Soyorg in a siege to murder Sin, the slumbering dragon. When the slumbering dragon was pierced, however, he awoke and spewed poison over all of Shulva. The Drakeblood Knights are relevant because their leader, Sir Yorg, has a ring that bears the crest of Drangleic, and I mention this because the Archdrakes had a confrontation with Drangleic. The Archdrake staff states, "Their well-honed miracles and unwavering faith in the face of death made them worthy rivals to Drangleic's forces in their day." So if the Drakeblood Knights are from Drangleic, then these descriptions tie in nicely together. The Drakeblood Knights invade to kill Sin, the slumbering dragon. The Archdrake Knights continue to fight with faith in the dragon, even though the source of their faith is raining down death upon them. It also says, "in their day," which implies that the Archdrake Knights had a time when they stood alone, rather than as a sect. If you've watched my Prepare to Cry video on Velstart, then you'll know that I think Velstart of Drangleic must have existed in Shulva at some point, since there's a mirror image of him down in the depths. So, if that's true, it's likely that some Archdrake Knights managed to leave Shulva as well, joining Drangleic with Velstart and making their home in the holy country of Lindelt. And I'm assuming Lindelt and Drangleic are both countries under the same monarchy, for the Archdrake Knights make their new home in the Shrine of Amana below Drangleic Castle. And it's also worth noting that the Archdrake Knights in Shrine of Amana are actually called Archdrake Pilgrims, and the word pilgrim is a word with a lot of religious connotations, essentially meaning that you have to go on a quest to a distant land to prove yourself. So it could also mean that they're in Shrine of Amana because they're on pilgrimage
from Shulva, or I mean, okay, from Lindelt.
We find some of the biggest links to Shulva. So even if I'm wrong about how they got to the shrine, even if you don't agree with me on that, where they came from seems pretty set given all the connections. A simple observation to start with is how similar the Shrine of Amana is to Shulva. It's underground, it's dimly lit, and it's got shallow water. Actually, the perfect example is the Demon of Song room, which is remarkably similar to the Lair of the Imperfect. Speaking of the Demon of Song, Shulva and the Shrine of Amana are two places where a demon and its priestesses sing to soothe the inhabitants. Shulva had a dark queen singing with her priestesses.
I see the parallels here.
In its slumber. And Amana has a demon of song singing to the Milfanese.
So they fled Shulva and found a home that was similar to Shulva that they fled from.
To soothe the dead. For the Archdrake Knights in Amana, the slumbering dragon continues to be the focus of their faith, the source of their miracles. The Archdrake shields are all inscribed with dragons as a way for the Archdrakes to perform their rituals. And all the item descriptions that say that they keep their rituals and origins a secret say that because they are intricately tied to one another. Their rituals and their origins would be one and the same. Lastly, there is a bonfire named the Tower of Prayer in both Shulva and the Shrine of Amana, which is what I'm going to leave you guys on. So maybe this video gave you the sources to make your own story about the Archdrake Knights. Maybe you believe that my telling of the story is right, or if nothing else, I hope I made you realize that there's more depth than you might have seen here at first glance.
Hey, you did all three of those for me, okay?
And no description concretely states that there's a connection between Shulva and Drangleic. So why do I believe it? Well, it's because this is exactly the subtle stuff From wants us to dig for, and you can say it's coincidence, but I prefer to think that there's too many connections for it to be coincidence. And after hearing me talk, you might agree or disagree, but hey, that's the beauty of it all. Just because I'm pointing out connections doesn't make it true. What matters is what you believe. This video relates to my Prepare to Cry on Sin, the Slumbering Dragon, and my Prepare to Cry on Velstart, the Royal Aegis. And now that you've seen this, you'll probably understand more about those stories, and you'll understand what was going on in the background of those two tales. So go check those ones out. They're arguably a little bit better produced than this video. But enjoy, guys, and if I don't have a video out in the next few days, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and have great holidays.
Alright, guys. That was the very last episode of his Prepare to Lore Cry series. I gotta say, I loved every bit of it. My favorite was the Ivory King. I thought he told the story very well in that video. I was engaged the whole time. And guys, I love the fact that we finish off a Souls game with lore videos. So Thank you so much for watching the Let's Play. I appreciate it so much. With that being said, peace and love. God bless. I do hope to see you in any future videos that I make. If not, that's fine. I hope you enjoyed this one.